Hi class. So today we're going to add our JavaScript to our tic-tac-toe board. And the JavaScript we're going to do today is just to allow it so if you press an X shows up. Or if you press a square, an X shows up. And if you press another square, an O shows up. And another square, an X shows up. And another square, an O shows up. We're not going to make anything smart yet. We will allow you, if there's already an X there, it's going to just replace it with an O. We just want to make it so that when you click on things, something's happening. And so that's a good goal for the day. So I'm opening up our current code, and right now we've got a tic-tac-toe board with X's and O's already in it. Now, I'm going to delete those X's. I'm actually going to bring this back all the way like this because I'd like to start with an empty board. So it's the first column, and if you hit refresh, the first row, and the first row is now blank. Our second row is blank. Third row is blank. Sorry, our second row is blank. I'm blanking out our third row now. So we're going to start with a blank board rather than a board with information in it. And so now what I want to do is that when I click on something, I want it to display the X's and O's. So one thing that we are going to have to do is we're going to have to add a new ID to all of these. So IDs are a little easier to work with because they're unique. Well, we need to know what square you're clicking on. So we can refer back. So I'm going to say this is ID top left. All one word. Or, you know what, I'm going to call it square 0. Just because we're passing in a 0. And then the next one will be ID square 1, so on and so on. So let's just quickly modify this. So this would be square 1, square 2, square 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now when you click, we can refer back to a square that you clicked to. So now what we need to do is we need to connect our JavaScript. And just like we connect our CSS, we connect the CSS up here. JavaScript you typically add at the end. And you call it script. And bear with me for 1 second. Okay, so it's script src equals, and it's tic-tac-toe.js. And I'm just matching the file that I had from before. And you could add type equals text.js /JavaScript as well. So that's connecting our JavaScript to our HTML. Right now nothing's in our JavaScript, so when I hit refresh, there's still no new feedback. But we're going to add that next. So this is called a function, and functions are basically code that get run when they're called. So when you click, the web page is going to say, hey, does JavaScript exist? If it does, is there a function called board click? And functions are just lists of operations. So we start off by saying function. What was the name of the function again? It was called board click. And then I'm going to say square position. And so if you press the upper left, it's going to square position will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So there are nine squares, 0 through 8. In computer science, we always start counting with 0. And when I say always, I mean almost always. So now I'm going to say if, and there's a bunch of ways to do this. This is the most accessible way, but for a new programmer. So we're going to say if the square position is equal to 0. Now equal means is asking the question, is it equal to 0? And so if you press the upper left corner, the answer will be yes. If you press anything else, the answer will be no. And then it's going to do the code that's inside of these parentheses. And so what we want to do is we want to say, okay, you pressed here, we're going to get the square 0, so we want to talk back to here. So the way we talk back is we can say, okay, find the ID square 0. That's done by saying document dot get element by ID, and then you just put the name of the element you want, dot inner HTML equals, we'll say an X for right now. I hit refresh. Now if I click, it puts an X. Now it doesn't do any of the others because we haven't coded that yet. But before we do that for all these, what I want to do is I want to say var current turn equals X. And then instead of equaling X, we're going to say it equals the current turn. Now we're going to repeat this. If it's equal to 1, we're going to say square 1 equals the current turn. If it's equal to 2, square 2 equals the current turn. And you're going to go all the way through until you get to square 8. I'm not going to do those on screen. You can figure that out. And then at the bottom, I'm going to say if current turn is equal to X, then we want to switch the current turn and set it equal to O. So a single equal sign means set it. A double equal sign is asking the question, is this the same? And then we're going to say, in this case, we're going to say else current turn is equal to X. So mine will only work for the top 3, but it's allowing me to switch my X's and O's. So now you could actually play a 2-player game with this if you finish the rest of the squares. And that's your goal for today. Thank you, and I hope this is enjoyable. We will look at how to make the game smart tomorrow, and eventually we'll be playing against the computer. Thank you.